Thanks for staying with us. Let's remind you of breaking news. As you can see on the bottom of your screen there, Eskom implementing stage 4 and 5 rolling blackouts. This from 5 in the morning tomorrow until Sunday afternoon, blaming several breakdowns at several units and saying that this has happened over the past 24 hours. Certainly a number of people reacting to this, and even, the ANC holding a dialogue with some stakeholders in the energy sector, looking at this particular problem of rolling blackouts as South Africans have now had to endure over time. And that's where we find reporter Katlego Legodi, who has been watching proceedings there very closely. Katlego, I do understand that proceedings have wrapped up, and certainly a lot of people saying that if all this talking is anything to go by, it looks like the implementation is still a long way off.
Most definitely, Bongi, where it's, of course, a race against time as we speak right now for the ANC to work with other stakeholders to craft solutions to the country's energy crisis that we find ourselves in. They've rolled out, or they're rolling out as we speak right now, a number of symposiums and dialogues with interesting role players and civil society to come through with solutions, comprehensive solutions that will get us out of the crisis that we find ourselves in. So most of those that have gathered here today say that they're tired of talk shop from the ANC in saying that they have a plan to do away with rolling blackouts or load shedding, saying that they need to be brought into the light in terms of when this load shedding will be done away with. They want timelines. They want to ensure that those socio-economic challenges that the country are facing right now, they're not impeded or more or less exacerbated by the rolling blackouts that we find ourselves in. The economy of the country has not been faring well for quite some time now, and this crisis that we find ourselves in right now cuts across various industries that have over time looked to Eskom to stabilize the grid. But most of them are just saying that this here should be ventilated at the ANC's Lekgotla. That will happen in the coming days, where solutions that were crafted here at this dialogue will be taken there. I'm going to bring into the conversation now Bongile Kulu. He was one of the panelists that formed part of engagements here in terms of racing against time to find solution for the crisis that we find ourselves in. Sir, welcome to the SABC. The ANC seemingly roping everyone in to try by all means to comprehensively craft solutions to the energy crisis, and you formed part of that panel that was addressing stakeholders gathered here. Let us in on your major takeaways from everything that happened here this afternoon going into the evening.
I think firstly, let me just congratulate the SG of the ANC for arranging this much needed dialogue. I think it was really long overdue, and also for them to be able to reach out to the subject matter experts and industry experts to form part of the panel, of which obviously I was one of them. So I think my reflection is that today we had a very robust discussion, and there were no punches that were held back in terms of the generation of ideas at the end of the day. And as you know, the focus was to say, how do we stop the bleeding, meaning this load shedding, because we cannot afford to have 2 years of load shedding. As a country, will collapse the economy of the country. So really, I think that was some of the discussions that ensued, I think, today. So my view is that, and as we've heard as part of the panel, is that I think in terms of the timelines, if certain things are done, like I mentioned, I think if we get the 6,000 megawatts that is locked up on the failures that Eskom has actually reported on, which is about 16,000 to 18,000 megawatts. If we get that by making sure that we actually refurbish those units that are out of service, but also bring back the ones that are actually on planned maintenance, we should be able to get out of this load shedding, at least in a 6 to 12 months period.
Talks around the just energy transition as well, where the country will be moving to the green energy in trying to ensure that those emissions are dealt with. Maybe let us in on the fact that really, what do you make of this just energy transition?
As you heard the discussion, I think it's clear that sometimes when we engage on some of these issues and the just energy transition issues, some of the people obviously misconstrued as to where we're going, thinking that we're abandoning coal and moving straight to renewables. But it's actually not that. As per the IRP 2019, it's clear that as we move forward, we need to be
Yeah, that line really just failing us there with Katlego, but getting a gist of what came out from that dialogue. It's, I suppose, judging by what we are hearing, it was a no-holds-barred conversation that was happening behind closed doors, looking at all these solutions, the potential solutions out of this particular crisis. But as many are continuing to say, how long do these dialogues continue? As these rolling blackouts continue, Eskom ramping up stages this evening. So these symposiums, these dialogues, I suppose then South Africans are asking, when will they then be coming, seeing more power added to the grid? But that's Katlego Legodi there. We'll bring you more on that report during the course of our bulletins on the show.